Sawadee Krap and welcome to another Thailand Tuesday here on the Fungit Pod. Glad you're back, glad we're back. And yeah, Sawadee Pimai, Happy New Year, Happy New Thai Year, Thai New Year. It's the week after the Thai New Year holidays. We talked about it last time. So the Songkran Festival just happened. Nothing much this year, of course, due to the pandemic. All the official events canceled. People still traveling quite a bit, though. I read a statistic that said around 50% of people canceled their travel plans. But it looked like Bangkok was pretty empty, like ghost townish almost, how it usually is during the New Year holidays, because either you go back home if you're not from Bangkok to see your family and so on, or you just travel around, have some nice time off. And it looks like lots of people were still traveling. So yeah, but now we're back again. No official wet parties, water splashing or anything like this, and now back in action here the week after Songkran. So, well, I hope you have a happy and healthy new Thai New Year. But let's keep talking about what we talked before, right? So we had this quick Songkran break last time, and before we talked about how I ended up in Udon Thani in Isan. And now let's just talk about it. Let's just talk how was life and work in Isan, I think, because that's probably something that some of you are interested in learning about, because like, hey, how can I end up in Thailand, or should I end up in Thailand, and are there other regions besides Bangkok? So Isan, so northeastern Thailand, right? It's like the poor region of Thailand. It's like the agricultural region where the rice and so on comes from. There's not much in terms of living. Now, don't get mad if you live there. It's still very nice at places. People are amazing. I still have lots of friends there, so the people are awesome. Very nice, very helpful. So really cool. I made lots of friends there, and it says something for me because I don't make friends easily. So that was pretty cool. But in terms of living quality, if you're used to living in a big city, for example, you might miss something. So in Udon Thani, where I live, for example, it's been a while since I moved. Back then there was like one big shopping mall and then maybe like some smaller shopping-ish areas. But that's basically where you spend your free time, because there's not much more to do, unfortunately. There are a few parks here and there, and I went running in the park every night after work, because that's the one thing that I could do there. But other than that, it's limited, right? But that's also the charm of it, that it's not big city metropolitan lifestyle, but it's a little bit more rural, still getting excited thinking about Udon Thani, a little bit more intimate, so to speak. And it's a little bit more adventurous, especially if you're from Germany and you get thrown into this city where English isn't that common, at least like a few years ago. Now it's much, much better. Now it developed way more. You have like way more relaxed entertainment areas, shopping areas, and so on than like a few years ago. But it was quite an adventure, simply because I didn't speak any Thai yet. And then the fun thing about this is also, so every area in Thailand, of course, has a different accents, right? So just like in other countries as well. So I was thrown into Udon Thani, into Isan. So that's where I picked up my first few Thai words and phrases. And so when I then came to Bangkok the first time, when I tried to speak Thai, they all looked at me like, well, why do you have an Isan and northeastern accent? Like, why are you using those words? That's not Thai. So my first friends that I met in Bangkok, they said like, that's not Thai, you're talking Isan right now, which was kind of funny. Now I almost forgot everything except sad bore. Google that, and a few other things that I should not be saying on a podcast that can be accessed by everybody. But other than that, I think now my Thai is more standard Thai than Isan, unfortunately, because I obviously liked it up there. So, but let's talk about the work there before we dive into what to do there and so on, right? So I worked at the vocational college, Vidyalaya Achiwa Siksa Udon Thani, and the thing is, and I'm very thankful for them, because I went there. I had like a few days to acclimate myself, and then they threw me right into this. They're like, well, you speak English, so you're going to teach English. So here's your schedule, that's your class, go. And there was no other teacher holding me by the hand. There was no big introduction. It was just like, hey, that's your new teacher, go, good luck. And then I was standing there like in front of 40 students, aged. So the classes, the ages were like 15, 16 to 18, 19, sometimes 20ish, but that's so the age range, I believe. So I'm standing there in this class, like, hey, and I'm trying to check like how's the English proficiency and so on. And then a few students, they were happy to see me. They're like, yeah, cool, a new teacher, something new. Then they were happy to talk a little bit in English with me, like, hey, how are you? Where you from? But that's mostly it already. 80% of the students, their English proficiency wasn't that high, so it was more like very basic. Hey, where you from? What you like? So grammar, not a big deal in the beginning, because just trying to get people to talk a little bit, right? So forget about the grammar in the beginning. And so just like very basic communication, and then slowly build up on that. And the thing was, I didn't study education. I don't have an education degree. Now I'm building up on that, and I'm adding like educational certificates and whatnot to my resume. Back then I didn't have one, so I was surprised that they would just throw a volunteer, right? I was basically a volunteer, and they throw a volunteer into this. And not just one class. I had like, I think it was in my first semester, I was teaching like almost 30 hours in that semester. And that sounds a bit crazy because it's already quite a lot. But since I was in Udon Thani, I didn't have much of a social life anyways, because I didn't know anyone, not much to do. I'm an introvert and so on. So I was like, okay, well, whatever. I just make the best of it and become the best teacher I can be. And I really liked the teaching aspect. So in the classroom, I liked it a lot. I had so much fun. I think most students liked me. I liked them. We bonded. They were happy that they see me. Because I was teaching differently to like the Thai teachers, especially in those rural areas. And I'm not throwing everybody under the bus, but it's just the payment is just terrible for a teacher in Thailand. And so the motivation, of course, isn't that high for many of them, for many of those teachers. So they just come, sit in the front, and then just go read from a book, or like just to read from, I don't know, slides or whatnot, or even like use the overhead stuff. But that's about it. And so I'm very active. I go into the class, I'm active, I walk around, I'm like, hey, what's up, and just have fun, talk about current things, what happened. Like I try to figure out like what kind of music do they like, what movies do they watch, and so then we talk about those things. I took them out of the classroom just so that we talk about different stuff outside and so on. So they enjoyed it, I enjoyed it, lots of fun. My second semester then, because apparently I got some good reviews from the students, I was teaching almost 40 hours per week. And while I really loved it, that took a toll on me, because it was really exhausting. My voice just left me. I can't even count how many times my voice. Friday evening, my voice was gone. I was just dead. I would go to the 7-Eleven next to the school, next to the college, get some food, some microwave food from 7-Eleven, eat it, and then just pass out. And then I'm dead. But still, it was fun. I really enjoyed it, and I appreciate that they trusted me, because I mean they didn't know me, and this can go well, this can go terribly wrong, of course, right? If the volunteer, the teacher you throw in there doesn't give and it's just not dedicated or whatever. For me, it worked because I really enjoyed it. I appreciate the trust they had in me, and I'm like, okay, I can't disappoint them now, and I wanna, leave a mark here if somehow possible. Now, years later, I'm still in touch with some of the students there. We're still updating each other, like, hey, where are you now? What you doing? And so on. So that's really cool. The subjects I was teaching was everything English. They had subjects like English for communication, English for hospitality management, English for IT, whatever was necessary basically. And they had me then also design the syllabus from scratch, design worksheets from scratch, evaluate English textbooks. And then they actually bought textbooks that were terrible. I don't know. There was even the grammar in those textbooks was wrong. I don't know how they, probably some bribery going on or something, allegedly. I don't know how they decided on this textbook, because it was terrible. So I then used this terrible textbook in the second or third semester there, and I said, okay, let's do some of those textbook things, but mainly focus on actually learning something. yeah, we watched lots of motivational stuff. I made them create videos, of course, is what you do, right? Just try to have some creative work involved there. It's not an educational podcast, so we don't need to talk about all the educational levers that I was trying to use there. If you want to, I'm all down for that. So of course, and that's just an overall overview over like how work was there. Worst thing about work usually was grading. I hate grading. I hate taking exams, of course, grading. And then also like always the bureaucracies, because you have to like then so much paperwork. I thought Germany is terrible when it comes to bureaucracy and paperwork. Thailand is like triple that. Everything has a paper for everything, you need a stamp for everything, and you have to have like 7 forms of what. Insane. I have never filled out that many forms in my life, I believe. Crazy. Yeah. So that's the working part here. So the quick overview. Then also, I was a bit hesitant because the students, then I connected with them and they liked me because I was the first the first white teacher there. So they had Chinese teachers. That's why I'm saying this is not a racial thing, but they had foreign Chinese teachers there first, but I was the first foreign English teacher that they had. So some of them like were so happy that they can talk with English with me and so on. So then they took me on some motorcycle trips with them. They introduced me to their family, some of them, which was pretty cool. Invited me to some birthday parties. Then out there, away from Udon Thani, like they didn't even live in Udon Thani city. Most of them, they lived like further out there and in the even poorer areas, more rural areas. So I went out there with like a songthaew, what I talked about like in one of the previous podcasts. We just went out there for like 30 minutes sitting in a songthaew, going into nowhere, stopping the songthaew in the middle of the road. You're like, wow, where am I right now? And then there's like a house somewhere around the corner, and like a very basic wooden house, and then that's where they celebrated. Super cool. We went to some of the sites in Udon Thani. They have like a national park there, Phu Lom. It's like up the mountain where it's like a bit greener, like small waterfall and so on. So that's where they took me, and we got stuck in the rain there. So we went by motorcycle. A few students just invited me there with a few parents, but we went with motorcycles, and we got stuck in the rain. It's like 30 minutes or so from Udon Thani city, stuck in the rain, motorcycle through rain. Lots of bonding there, of course, and I mean I think that's also probably why we had such a bond. Like if I asked them to do something in class, I'm like, hey, just trust me, you're gonna learn something here. They were willing to do it because they knew I wouldn't BS them, because there's no reason for me to BS them, right? So I think that was just pretty cool, this connection there, and I really enjoyed it, and that's why I'm still friends with some of them, still keeping up. Some of them are now working, living abroad, which is pretty cool. Some are in Bangkok as well. Like have some reunions once in a while, just meeting up for lunch or so, which is cool. So there was a very interesting experience. Eventually, I came to a point where I was like, I mean, I love the kids there. I love teaching there, but I mean, I'm not a school teacher, and it's really hard to just wrap my head around the bureaucracy. Also, the payment is terrible. I mean, I couldn't save anything there. I got paid 10,000 baht, which is nothing, and free accommodation, but I talked about the terrible accommodation on campus. So it just wasn't a sustainable lifestyle for me anymore, and that's then why I decided, okay, after 3 semesters, I have to cut it. I'm sorry, guys. I love it here. I love the people, but I have to move on. I have to think about my career, make some more money, and like just progress with my life, right? I still went back many times to Udon Thani to visit like my colleagues, for example, who took care of me. Like there were like especially 2 colleagues who like just took me out in the beginning, showed me around Udon Thani and so on, went with me to the bank to open a bank account, for example, things like this. So very appreciative of this. And yeah, the overall experience was just so different to what I expected and to what I was used to, that it was just like kind of mind blowing. Actually, opened up my mind to lots of new experiences and lots of new things. I have a few more stories though that I will share in the next episode of the podcast, because we're already 15 minutes in. Just a few funny things that happened while I was there. Nothing. Well, and also a few bad things actually, and I will share this too, because talk about the good things and the bad things that may be. Yeah, but that's it for this week then. So that's my summary of my work experience, so to speak, in Udon Thani, the college. Next time then my personal experiences in Udon Thani, and then I'm going to slowly move on to Bangkok. Or if something happens in between and you are more curious about what's happening right now in Bangkok, are there riots? No, they're not. What's up? What's with the pandemic? Just shout out in the comments via social media, email funkitpod@gmail.com. Let me know what you want to know. Until then, take care. See you next time. Sawadee ka.